All right, guys, back again. Not going to be doing a shooting video this time. I'm actually going to be doing a cooking video. As much as I love to shoot, I actually prefer to be out in the woods hunting, and more importantly, putting meat in the freezer. And even more so, I love cooking and coming up with new recipes, new ideas, trying new things with what I'm fortunate enough to have harvested. And today is no different. I'm going to be showing you guys a venison sausage recipe that I've come up with. I've made sausages before. This one's going to be a little different. Inside the sausage, I've also added some homemade venison salami in little chunks. So let's go and I'll show you how I do it. All right, so we're going to start off with the pork butt. Pork butt is perfect for venison sausage. There's a lot of fat in that, and you do want that fat in your sausages or they will dry out. At this point, I should mention that prior to cutting up your pork, you're going to want to weigh it. You're also going to want to weigh your venison. You're going to need to know the weight so you can figure out how much salt to add. I will let you know how to do that later. Now we will move on to the venison and follow the same process. Cubing it up. And if you look closely, you can tell that this meat is not partially frozen, so it does not cut quite as nice. Keep in mind when you're processing your deer, bigger chunks of meat stay better in the freezer. And because you haven't cut them up into smaller bits yet or ground them up, it gives you more options for cooking later on down the road. So now I'm going to start working with the venison salami. This is the quote-unquote secret ingredient to this sausage recipe. It's an idea that I came up with. I thought, hey, why can't I add cured meat to a sausage? Give it little flavor pockets within the sausage. So that was my intent, and that's what I did. I took my homemade venison salami, and I'm going to cut it up into little chunks so you have little flavor pockets within the sausage. The chunks can't be too big, otherwise they won't fit through the attachment on your sausage stuffer. I would say it's up to you as an option. You can leave the casings on or remove it from the salami prior to putting it into your mix. These are natural casings, so I had no problem leaving most of the casings on. They will cook down quite nicely. After we're done with our salami, we're going to weigh out our salt, which is between 1% to 2% by weight in comparison to your venison and pork mix. In this case, that's between 36 and 72 grams. I went for the middle, 54 grams of salt. Then I've got 2 tablespoons of peppercorns that need to be ground down. I've got a tablespoon of rosemary and 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. And that is it for the dry ingredients. So we'll start by grinding up the peppercorns, get that all ground up nice. It really enhances the flavor when it's freshly ground. It is a little bit of work, but it is definitely worth it. I like to mix my pork and my venison prior to grinding it. I find it gives a better distribution of the two meats. Placing your grinder attachment in the freezer an hour or two ahead of time will definitely help with the grinding process. Once you're done grinding, you can start adding the dry ingredients. And what I like to do is do this in stages. This helps with, again, even distribution of the dry ingredients. I don't want any particular spot to have more than the other. And so that's why I'll do it in stages. Add a little of the salt here, then some of the pepper, the rosemary, the garlic, then put some more ground meat in and repeat the process again with more dry ingredients until you're done. At this point, we can add in our venison salami. So you can definitely start by using a wooden spoon to help mix up your ingredients, but ultimately you're going to want to get your hands in there and mix it up with your hands. It's really the best way to do it, especially if you're using salami chunks. The only way to tell if those salami chunks are evenly distributed within the ground meat is by feel, and you're not going to be able to do that with a wooden spoon. You have to get your hands in there to do that. Once your meat is all ground up, you can place it into a sausage stuffer. Although you can use a grinder for stuffing sausages, a sausage stuffer is actually far superior. And if you ever wind up getting into making your own fermented meats, such as salami, summer sausage, things like that, you're going to need a sausage stuffer anyways. I think personally, it's definitely worth the investment. I find it a lot smoother and a lot quicker than using a grinder. This particular model will hold about 2 pounds of meat. We'll be using hog casings for our sausages, and the first thing you're going to want to do is rinse all the salt off of it in some cold water. Next up, we'll place our moistened hog casings onto our attachment. In order to get a decent sized sausage, you're going to have to apply some resistance between the casing and the attachment, so the casing doesn't fly off the attachment too quickly. Otherwise, you wind up with, I guess, pepperette style versus an actual sausage size. You want to try and maintain even pressure and crank the handle on the sausage stuffer at the same rate. Otherwise, you're going to wind up doing what happens here shortly, and that's where you get a rupture in the casing, which is not a huge deal. You can just scoop some of that up and put it back into the stuffer and just pinch off the part where it's busted up and keep on going. Oh, did I mention that we're going to be smoking these sausages prior to cooking them as well? Of course we are. We're not just going to barbecue them. We're going to smoke them first. Got the Lure Jensen Big Chief smoker all preheated. Put in some cherry wood smoke chips in there. Get that going. Then we'll throw the sausages in for about an hour or two prior to cooking them on the barbecue. When you start to get little wisps of smoke coming off the wood chips, it's time to put your sausages into the smoker. Unfortunately, this time of year, you got to battle the yellow jackets as well, who also want a piece of your meat. And we're going to get a little sneak peek, just for fun. All done in the smoker. Now it's time to throw them on the barbecue. Listen to them sizzle. These bad boys are starting to look really good. And here's the finished product. Just got to bring it inside and try it out. Are you guys' mouths watering yet? Just so you know, it was delicious. I highly recommend trying this.